We want it open.
Let's keep it
going.
We
want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging tolls. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without our approval. And the Navy has done an amazing job.
Now, I mean, and here's a crazy part. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without the approval of Iran and the United States. So, yeah, there's no ship that could just make it through on the passage of just the United States, and there's no ship that can make it through on just the pass of Iran. They got to pay the fee to Iran to make it through, basically checkpoint one, and then they got to make sure that they're not affiliated with Iran in any way, shape, or form, besides paying that fee to make it past the naval blockade of the United States.
Waiting game in the Middle East continues now. The region watching to see if the U.S. and Iran can reach a deal that ends the war and reopens the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump keeping his military options open as we are told that there is some movement in negotiations, but what that movement is, hard to know. From Dubai, Jeff Paul is reporting again today. And Jeff, hello.
Yeah, Bill, an advisor to the president here in the UAE says at the moment, in his opinion, he believes there is about a 50-50 chance of the U.S. and Iran coming up and agreeing to some sort of peace deal. His concern is that in the past, Iran has sort of overestimated or overplayed the cards they carry, and he's hoping that's not the case this time. Meanwhile, President Trump says negotiations are ongoing.
We're negotiating, and we'll.
If the UAE and the other Gulf countries can't get Iran to give up their nuclear enrichment or end their stockpile, of course, then Trump's not going to accept it. Let's be real. If these guys cannot get Iran to water down their demands in any way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to their nuclear enrichment, then it looks like we will be going back into kinetic strikes. It just is what it is. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Iran is not listening to any of those guys. I'm pretty sure if the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia all came begging on their knees, going like, please accept the U.S. maximalist demands, they're just gonna tell them no. And they're gonna tell them, oh, the U.S. has proven why we need this uranium in the first place. So don't know what to tell you guys. Pretty much tell U.S. to get used to us controlling the strait. And you already know what Trump is thinking about that. But all right, let's get back to it. And make sure to like the video, guys.
See, but either we're going to get it one way or the other. We're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic.
Now, President Trump says he's giving the negotiations more time, and Iran says it's currently reviewing the latest proposal. We also know Pakistan is intensifying its efforts to mediate the process, with several reports indicating their army chief is on the way to Tehran. On top of that, Reuters says Qatar has sent a negotiating team to Iran to help secure a deal to end the war. But at the same time, Iran is seemingly sending a very provocative message.
Yeah, you see, because think about it like this. The Gulf countries got to convince Iran to try to pretty much release their control of the strait. And Iran comes out and says, actually, we're not doing that. Actually, we're solidifying our control. And we're even giving you guys the zones in which we control, in which you'll have to pay this fee in order to get through the strait. So Lord knows they're not most likely going to get that. Then they got to get Iran to concede on giving up their 60% enrichment and then agreeing to not enrich at all, because that's what the United States want. I'm sorry, but if the bombing of the constant bombing of the United States didn't get Iran to that point, what makes you think the Gulf leaders begging them will? Like, I'm just going to be real with you. It just don't seem like it's going to happen.
Washington with this map. It shows large areas of control in the Strait of Hormuz that stretch to the shores of the United Arab Emirates and Oman. Iran is now reportedly in talks with Oman over working together to control the strait and charge tolls. President Trump responding this way to that report.
Well, we're looking at it. We hear about it. They've negotiated. They've had a relationship with them before. And we'll see. We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get through it.
Now, officials here in the UAE say any sort of control over the Strait of Hormuz would have global repercussions. They also say prior to the war, the Iran nuclear program was a priority 2 or 3 for them. Now it is their #1 priority. Bill.
All right, Jeff Paul, thank you. In Dubai again today. Thank you, Jeff. Dana?
And for more on this, let's bring in retired Colonel Mike Jernigan, former Iraqi invasion commander. Marco Rubio is in Sweden, and he was just there for NATO meetings, and he also talked about needing a plan B and having a plan B. Watch here.
We also have to have a plan B. And plan B is, what if Iran refuses to open the straits? What if Iran decides we refuse to open the straits, we're going to own the straits, and we're going to charge tolls for it? Okay, at that point, something has to be done about it. And I would argue that there are countries represented here today that are more deeply impacted by this than even the United States is. They're not just going to voluntarily reopen the straits in that scenario. So we have to start thinking about it.
The other thing he said, Colonel, is that if Iran is allowed to charge a toll there, that there's about 5 other places around the world that currently have freedom of movement that would do the same thing.
Right. Good morning,
Yeah.
Dane.
Yeah, it would set off an unprecedented set of events, like to where people will, well, not people, but countries might literally go around closing waterways, charging fees to get some revenue. A lot of these countries are almost scratching their head, going like, "Man, my people can use some money. We're going through sanctions. Maybe we should start closing straits too. Maybe somebody should go out there and close the Strait of Malacca and see if they can control it, just like Iran did with the Strait of Hormuz. So let's fuck around and find out." And that's what we're hoping that countries don't do. And then also we're hoping countries don't do after this is try to edge towards a nuclear weapon, because we've kind of proven to the world that we will not leave you alone unless you have a nuclear weapon. So those are 2 things that we done set off right now.
Good morning, Bill. The freedom of movement is such a thing. Those are called international waterways, as marked by United Nations and international law. Busily, the People's Republic of China is watching as Iran is trying to influence the Straits of Hormuz and say this international waterway that's required for the commerce of all is our property. You know, the PRC is also doing that in the South China Sea. And so there's some interesting developments going on.
Sir, listen to, we just heard from the president. He had a lot to say in the Oval Office yesterday. Here was a question about enriched uranium and what you do about it, okay? We'll roll this here.
Can they keep their highly enriched uranium?
No, we get the highly enriched. We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it.
Get your reaction on that. Marco Rubio said last hour about this movement on these negotiations, whatever the movement is. He said, don't exaggerate it and don't diminish it. Colonel, are the Iranians just tapping us along?
Yes. I love what the president said, that the Iranians will not get enriched uranium. It's important to remember.
No, they won't, because we've proven to them why they need it. Like I said, the more aggression we've put in on Iran, the more they push towards a nuke. And the whole reason why Iran even progressed towards a nuke is because they've been seeing that we've been trying to attack them for a while now. They know that Bibi wants to attack them. They know that we've wanted to attack them. And guess what? They're looking over there at North Korea like, you know what? Maybe North Korea got the right formula, that if we get a nuke, we get left alone. And that's exactly what they might just go for, even with, well, the fact that we killed the old Ayatollah, who actually had the religious law of no nukes. We're not sure if his son is going to hold that up. And it doesn't look like they are, because what's coming out of the Iranian parliament is that if the U.S. resumes strikes on Iran, that they will push for that 90% enrichment, AKA you attack us, we will go towards that nuke like we've been promising for the past, well, I would say 5 to 10 years. So, like I said, guys, I know everybody wants to get aggressive with Iran over this nuclear threat, but here's the problem. The more aggressive we are towards Iran, the more likely they will get that nuke. I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but that's just the reality. Look at history. That's what's showing us right now.
Iran is a Shia flavor of the Islamic religion. And they're in the minority in the world. And so 90% of the world's Islam is Sunni. Iran is Shia. Why that's important is the Shia religion believes that they need to sow chaos and bring about the apocalypse to bring about the 12th Imam. So it's in the Iranian constitution as a theocratic.
No, they don't actually think that whatsoever. Actually, what makes them different is their belief on who should be leading, Islam, who should be leading the religion. I believe, I think the Sunnis believe that it should be the, I don't know. Somebody in the chat, let me know if I got this wrong or not, but I'm going to go ahead and double check. But I think it's the Sunnis who believe it's the descendants of the prophet. And the Sunnis believe it should be the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad who should lead the religion. And then the Shias believe it should be the Imams. Yeah, I believe the Imams or Ali, who was Muhammad's best friend and one of his most faithful followers at the time.
Government that they want to stir chaos. Having a nuclear weapon is incredibly
because the funny thing is they believe in the same eschatology and all that other good stuff and the same end times. Now they do have a bit of skirmishes between how they feel about certain, you know, I guess Quranic figures, but you know, that's here and there. But to sit there and say that the Shia, you know, Muslims are just a complete death cult, I mean, no, they're wild. They're wild, but let's be real though, like they're not, their beliefs aren't really too far from the Sunni beliefs, not at all. But of course, like I said, who they believe should lead the Muslims and Islam and all this good stuff into the next stage, there is high debates over that, to the point where they do get into it.
Advantageous to bringing about the apocalypse, I would offer. And so what's interesting to happen is that it's a fundamental tenet of their belief that they need to bring about the end times. And so the president's saying that absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's not a fundamental part of their belief whatsoever. That's a fundamental part of like the radical. I'll be real with you. That's actually a fundamental belief of Christian Zionists. Yeah, that they feel like they need to bring about the end times to bring back the what was it? They need to bring about the end times to cause constant war in the Middle East, to bring back the Antichrist through the rebuilding of the third temple in Jerusalem. So I'm sorry, but if anybody has any type of eschatology that they want to bring into current day, it's the Zionists. So that's kind of crazy how you're trying to pass that off on the Shias, on the Shia Muslims, when they follow the same eschatology that the Sunni Muslims follow, which is that, yes, this Quranic figure, well, what was it? It's going to be Jesus and somebody else is going to come back and they're going to go ahead and fight the Antichrist and save the world and all that good stuff.
They cannot have it is absolutely right. Now, it's important to recognize we don't have to take it. We can destroy it. Other people can take it, and we can prevent the Iranians from having it. But the key thing is that the Iranians do not have the material available to make nuclear weapons.
Okay, so I want to ask you about the other countries in the region, though, because obviously we're waiting, we're seeing.
I'm weak. If that's the case, then why are we attacking them? Like, if you're saying that, yeah, they do not have the capability to make nuclear weapons, then why are we even doing this? And why are y'all also dedicated to doing this?
We have President Trump speaking quite frequently to the American people, being very open about what he's thinking to the extent possible without disclosing classified information. But there are also all of our Gulf allies who are sitting there going like, we are closer to this, we are worried about this, we are under threat, and our economies are suffering. So that clock seems to be ticking a little bit faster than anything else.
Absolutely. And that economic clock that's ticking faster is also ticking faster for the Iranians. They're between a hammer of the U.S. military might and the anvil of the crushing economic blows. As we look in the map of the region that you're showing right now, at the very tip of that peninsula is Oman. Oman is considering whether they're going to pay for Iran's protection racket, to use a gangster term, because that's exactly what it is. And that's because the entire area of influence that Iran has declared surrounds Iran, except on its southern border where it's bordered by UAE. In contrast, UAE has said that I'm going to say, no, we're not doing this. So each of these countries are going to make their own decisions based on their national interests, but also some of them are going to align with the U.S.
Well, we'll see. I was saying to Bill earlier that it just feels like every Friday we get into this position. Like, is something going to happen? But then the Iranians say, actually, no, we are going to speed up the talks. And then you find out there's nothing there.
Hard to win a war against those who think they're facing the end of times, but we shall see. Colonel, thank you for your time.
It's actually assessed that Iran is rebuilding its military industrial capacity at a much faster rate than previously anticipated. One U.S. official actually told us that, quote, the Iranians have exceeded all timelines the intel community had for reconstitution of their military capabilities. And one big example of that is how fast they have been able to rebuild their drone program. They have restarted started that program. We're told they have already been able to produce a lot of new drones, and their drone program could actually be fully
Yeah, guys, this is what I was pretty much warning you guys weeks ago about when I was saying that, yo, like due to the ceasefire, they're able to rebuild their missiles and their drones. And even with Operation Epic Fury, they still have over like at least about over 70% of their missiles and drones pre-war. So we didn't really even put a dent when it came to their missile capability or the amount of missiles that they're able to fire off, especially not their drones either. And the drones is what low-key made our U.S. bases inoperable and inhabitable now. So, man, it's not even like it's crazy because their missiles is a way bigger threat than the drones, but the drones will low-key took care of our bases.
constituted, we are told, within 6 months. And that's worth noting as well, because, of course, those drones pose a huge threat to Iran's regional adversaries, many of which are U.S. allies. They have proven to be extremely lethal, these drones. One of these drone attacks actually hit a U.S. Military facility early in the conflict and killed.
Yeah, hit military bases throughout the Middle East, making them all inoperable, all inhabitable. And it's low-key an embarrassment because they was trying to hide the fact that it happened. And now when the report finally comes out, everybody's in denial. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're surprised that Iran was able to knock out our military bases in the region. Trust me, I was surprised too when it happened. But the fact that, mainstream media was sitting there trying to deny it for weeks until they can no longer deny it was crazy. And it kind of lets you know, like, what else are they keeping from you guys?
U.S. service members. So the drones do pose a huge threat. And even prior to them reconstituting their drone program, they still had thousands of one-way attack drones still in their inventory. So this is just adding to that. In addition to this, they are also able to, we are told, rebuild, and they have been reconstituting their bombed out missile sites that the U.S. did attack, of course, throughout the course of the war, as well as with their missile launchers, many of which were buried underground, that they have now been able to dig out and produce more of. And the reason for this is multifaceted. Part of it is that Russia and China, we're told, have continued to provide assistance to the Iranians. The Chinese have continued, for example, to provide missile components to the Iranians throughout the course of the war, something that Beijing denies, but that U.S. intelligence has seen very clearly. And the Russians, of course, have continued to provide dual-use technology, drone tactic advice as well to the Iranians that has allowed them to continue to produce and manufacture a lot of this equipment.
And if you don't remember at the beginning of this conflict, bro, the Russians was already giving these guys like satellite intel on our bases, Israel's bases, energy infrastructure, all that good stuff. So that's why they were able to hit our bases with such precision, is because of Russian satellites and probably Chinese satellites as well. When they took down one of our aircrafts, it was with a Chinese shoulder missile. So it's China and Russia that's both involved in this. And we got to get down with that. Even when Trump went to Xi and been like, pretty please don't give up weapons to Iran. Well, Xi said, all right, sure. But let's be honest, that's exactly what he's going to go do. And it's in his best interest to do so. And then let's keep it real as well. I'm gonna be real with you. When it comes to them getting their oil from Iran, they don't need to go through the strait. They got the Caspian Sea they can access, and they have railways to Kazakhstan that they can get that oil from Iran from. So China's not really pressing the open up the Strait of Hormuz like everybody else is. Why? Because they still have access. Actually, I mean, if you look at the map of Iran, you'll see that they have access to China through their ally Pakistan. So that goes to show, one, that the blockade really ain't working. It's not really helping us out whatsoever when it comes to stopping Iran from getting their way and also making money off their oil. We keep saying that, oh, yeah, if we keep up this blockade, their economy is going to collapse. Well, if that was the case, then why are we talking about getting back into kinetic strikes, which risk American lives, risk equipment, and we're going to have to spend way more money than we would just pulling up this blockade and just waiting for the economy to collapse. But now, I'm going to tell you why. Because our CIA is already telling us, or our intelligence agencies are already telling us, that it's going to take about 6 months for their economy to collapse just with this blockade. And let's be real, Iran, they're not going to wait that 6 months. They're going to start laying waste to energy infrastructure throughout the region until we let off that blockade. So this is one of the reasons why we're going back to kinetic strikes, because realizing that the blockade was honestly a failure. But all right, let's get back into it. And any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in, guys.
So bottom line here is that while U.S. Central Command Chief Brad Cooper testified to lawmakers earlier this week that Iran's military industrial capacity will take them years to rebuild, in fact, it's only been set back by a matter of months, according to U.S. intel assessments.
The reason Netanyahu is furious is because he knows Trump is going to walk away. And Israel will be in more danger. That's the end of the Abraham Accords. And Israel is going to be in more danger than ever before because Trump doesn't have the stomach for it. It was a blunder to begin with. And it's the only choice is go in there.
How
they are
can
going
you
to get
say
the
that,
HEU.
though? How can you say that Israel is fearing of a basically rebounding Iran when it's a shell
because
of
they're watching it happen right now.
It's a shell of its former self.
It's not.
What
intel gives you that?
It's not. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. I wish it was. That was the perception that was given to us. Well, before the war, when Israel knocked off elite leadership in Hamas, they knocked off leadership in Hezbollah, and those are the two people that had been able to really mess with them. Like, the Iraqi militants were a bit disabled. They completely took out the Shia militants that were all Iran-backed in Syria. So I'm sorry, but yeah, everybody thought that Iran was weakened because their allies were weakened. But as we came to be, once you go after Iran directly, they show you why they're a regional superpower. And they also showed us that, yeah, it was probably smarter to just deal with these guys through their proxies and disable their proxies and not get into it directly with Iran. Because Iran, they'll let you take out their proxies, but as soon as you attack Iran directly, now we've seen what happened. And we should have learned from the 12-day war that Iran was actually serious about their self-defense. And her saying, oh, well, they're a shell of themselves. No, they have hypersonic missiles. They are able to close the strait. Honestly, we've just underestimated Iran, and Iran has actually proven how much restraint they've been showing throughout the years. Because they could have did this. They could have did this after the 12-day war, but they didn't. So it's been showing that they've been trying to come to some type of reasoning or some type of diplomatic reasoning with the United States and Israel for a while now. Well, not really Israel, but the United States at least. And we've been ignoring it, getting more aggressive with them, and they've been showing us why they're a regional power.
Take it from the commander of CENTCOM, Admiral Cooper, who testified to doubt the report that we're talking about right now because it's provided by one of these sources.
Stuff that got blown up.
Facts on the ground show us that Trump has been lying.
Hang on.
The Navy was 50 years old.
Yeah, see, she's going with the right-wing propaganda and everybody's going with the facts on the ground. I know this is my conservatives hate to hear this, but yeah, sadly, the right-wing, the conservatives are going with the propaganda, and believe it or not, it's the liberals who are going with the facts on the ground. Yes, the facts on the ground says that, well, if we eliminated their Navy, then why are they controlling the strait with speedboats and kamikaze drone speedboats? Like, how can you say we eliminated their Navy, but they're literally controlling the strait with boats? How could you say we eliminated 90% of their missiles, but reports are coming out that they still got 70% of them, and their missiles and drones are still a threat? Still, they just fired a good amount of them at the UAE. So you can't sit there and say that we've taken out their missiles and drone capability or 90% of it when it's been proven that they have way more than that left. I mean, bro, they try to say that this was going to be a 4-day to 2-week war, but we're about to go into the third month. Like, yeah, everything that was reported to us or told to us about this war from the right side on Fox News has been wrong.
I want to play a clip. Caroline mentioned Brad Cooper. This is what he said on Tuesday.
Operation Epic Fury significantly degraded Iran's ballistic missiles and drones while destroying 90% of their defense industrial base, ensuring that Iran cannot reconstitute for years.
Okay, so that is what you're referring to, and that's what we're hearing from Admiral Brad Cooper, who is the commander of U.S. Central Command. But this reporting that CNN has from intelligence officials and U.S. officials saying that the Iranians have exceeded all timelines and are, in fact, rebuilding.
Well, of course they're going to rebuild. That's what, I mean, why would they not try? But I do think it's interesting you act like this is a massive failure blunder because you said like they're in control. The top level guys are all dead, so they're not in
I'm
control.
talking about the regime.
Hold on.
Ask
The
the Iranians
second
if they've
level,
had
hold on.
regime.
Bro, the top level guys are all dead. I'm sorry, but the Ayatollah is still in power. They still have a head of the IRGC. Their parliament's still in power. The crazy zealots, religious clerks are all still there making decisions. So no, the regime is still in power. No, there's been no regime change. Just because you killed a couple guys up top who's been replaced does not mean there's been a regime change. I mean, the fact that those guys have been replaced just kind of kill that argument.
Level, they're all dead, so they're not in charge of anything.
So
the third level has been killed.
Yeah,
so
that's a line.
No, it's not.
With all of those,
so now we're at the fourth and the fifth level, and now you're saying
losing.
this has been a disaster.
Who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, I think the U.S. is clearly letting them.
Ask the Japanese.
So you think that Iran is in charge of everything over there, and we're somehow losers because you don't like Donald Trump?
Iran? Who's doing
Are
deals?
they doing deals? Are they having conversations? There's a big difference.
No, bro. They're doing deals with Iran. China and Japan, they did a deal with Iran to get their tankers through because they get 80% of their oil from there. They have to make an effing deal. Not everybody can wait like we can. Not everybody can hold off like we can because a lot of people get like 50 to 80% of their oil through the strait. So yes, people are going behind our backs cutting deals. And if you're that dumb and that ignorant about how the world works to not understand that, then bro, you shouldn't be talking on the conversation at all. Like really, you think that Japan was just gonna wait for us while the 80% of their oil is held up in the strait? Do you hear yourself?
They're desperate because
this is the part that makes me laugh about there's so much oil over there right now that is held back. They're desperate to sell in that part of the world because of what's happened in the strait, number one.
And the other side is true too. There's people on the other side who needs that oil who are desperate to concede, go over to Iran and be like, look, man, I'll pay whatever you need me to. Just give me my oil.
So they're not in control because they were. That would be free flowing.
Why are they doing side agreements with Iran?
Because they're desperate to get rid of capacity. They're trying to do anything to get some cash coming in. And if everything is in control the way you are, you don't have to do side deals. You would just have it open and flow like it was before the war.
It's
okay, but that's the point about the president. The president made it clear. Iran is not going to get a nuclear weapon. That's number one.
How is he going to ensure that?
Number two.
How is he going to ensure that?
He said he's made it. As long as he's president of the United States of America, I have no doubt if he needs to bomb them again,
Where's
he's
the highly
going to
enriched
bomb
uranium
them
right
again.
now?
I go back to what I just said.
That's just the raw materials.
That's raw
but
material.
the
That's not a
capacity
nuclear
has
weapon.
been decimated,
Yeah.
and that takes a long time to rebuild.
If you really believe that Iran...
It takes a long time to rebuild. Yeah, you two are ignorant. Iran builds 300 missiles per month, lady. Like, that's what you guys, that's why y'all sound dumb. It's like you guys don't know anything about Iran. You don't know their military capability at all, how much missiles they've been making per month. It was a whole story before this war about how dangerous their missile making capacity has been getting and how advanced their missiles has been getting. And this was a story before this war. So y'all haven't even been paying attention to the country that y'all want to take down so much. Which is why the conservatives or the Republicans are looking so dumb when it comes to this topic of Iran, because it just shows how ignorant they are, but how thirsty they are to get into a war.
Is sitting back right now, 5 levels deep of dead guys, and going, man, we're really in charge right now. Like we are kicking America's AWS.
I absolutely think that they are. Because that is what they're doing on the ground.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Because every bit of capability or intel that we've had has proven itself to be faulty. And that's either because there is a miscommunication or somebody's straight line. At the end of the day, we're spending $1 billion plus a day at a war that we are
losing. Faulty. Everything's been faulty. Give me an example of that.
We said they knocked out their missile capacity. They have 7.
Yeah, that's faulty intel. We've been given faulty intel. Like we say we knocked out 90% of their missile capacity. It shows they still got 70%. We say we took out their Navy. They still got their Navy out there in the Strait of Hormuz closing it down. I mean, we say we took out their Air Force. They still got an air defense system. So, like, bro, yes, we've been given faulty information. Oh, you guys are trying to claim there's regime change, but the Ayatollah and the IRGC is still in power. I mean, bro, y'all been giving faulty information out the ass.
70% still.
They said that they had totally annihilated it. That came from the president of the United States. He went on a PR tour telling us he annihilated something he absolutely did not.
You think
they
that
didn't
Iran
wake up one morning and all of a sudden rebuild their entire nuclear capacity.
You believe that Iran right now is exactly as powerful as they were?
I never said that. What I said was that they are not
in some way, strategically, they're more powerful because now they know they can charge a toll for every ounce of oil that comes out of the place where God made all the dinosaurs die and all the oil.
Okay, hold on.
So they're going to make money to rebuild their nuclear program.
And Trump right now, is thinking about how he's going to walk away from this.
Like,
you're making
someone that has no military and someone that has no air force and someone that has.
They have no military, bro. How dumb are you, bro? If they didn't have no military, wouldn't be dealing with this. Like, see how like desperate these guys are at this point? They're saying anything, even if it don't make sense. This is why Dems have been poking at Republicans over this Iran war, because, bro, this is where Republicans turn to this is where they turn to leftists. This is the topic where they turn to leftists. They sound nonsensical. They sound highly ill-informed. It's like they just completely lose it. They unravel on this topic. Like, he's literally trying to sit there and say, like, oh, they have no Navy, no nothing. Then, bro, what are we doing here then? How are they closing the strait? Why are we in this conflict with Iran if we took out everything? Nothing you're saying adds up to what's happening in our face.
No boats in the water that are large in any capacity.
The Navy was
okay. So you're saying a regime that has a joke of a Navy is now more powerful in the U.S.
70% of its missile launchers.
Yeah, and 70% of their missile launchers that they could fire into the Strait of Hormuz and drones. And they got kamikaze speedboat drones, and they got speedboats with missile launchers on them. That's closing the strait. One, I mean, that sounds like they got a Navy, and that sounds like they have dominance over the strait that we cannot release, or that we're unwilling to put the full force needed to release. So, yeah, bro, yeah. Sorry, but Iran does have escalation dominance in this region. Not like they're trying to fight us in our region, or we'd kick their ass all the way through. But no, we're trying to fight them in their region, in a region that they have escalation dominance in, and sadly, that we put a lot of assets in that they can low-key fuck with.
That's a new spin. Ask Qatar how the missile capacity of Iran affects oil in the world.
First of all, I'm going to be deaf in this ear by the time Ben is finished with all this yelling.
We'll get you a good doctor. You're fine.
It is ridiculous. But the problem here is that what the battle, another battle on the planet that's showing us right now, which is between Ukraine and Russia, is showing you is that might doesn't always do it. We have reporting now that Ukraine, not only have they held out for this long a period of time, they are now making advances. And the big power can get tired. They don't have enough, they can't recruit enough. They don't have the same skin.
Hey guys, make sure to like the video, man. We got like 4 of y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and smash that like button. Appreciate the support. Let's keep it going.
The game as a person who is a country that's trying to survive. And what you have with Iran is a country that's trying to survive.
And the experts I talk to, they talk a lot about asymmetrical warfare. And that's something I've had to learn about as not a military expert, but just it's a different playing field than what the U.S. has been used to in the past.
Especially if you have a president you've bombed 10 countries before, you now have an eye on Cuba. Your attention span is not even there.
He's right. He's right that this is a regime that is flailing. They are desperate for survival, so much so that they are executing its own citizens, protesters in the streets in the thousands because they're crashing out that badly. But they're totally
no. See, look. We understand that they're executing and all that good stuff, but they're executing people who are alleged to be spies. So all we've done is made the regime more hostile and cracking down on those people that we actually need to rise up against the regime and fight them. So all we're doing is making the regime crack down on the very people that we hope to, overthrow the regime. Yeah, that's all we're doing, lady. Like the people that they're executing, yeah, those are the people that you want to overthrow the regime. So that's not really a flex. Saying that they're crashing out. No, the people who support the regime, they're staying alive. The people that you want to overthrow the regime are the ones getting hung.
Listen,
that's not to say
teetering.
You were right up to a point.
You're right that they have
right up to a point. I was agreeing with you up to a point when you were saying that they are horrible people. That doesn't make the leap between and they're also in total control. That's not what they need to be. They don't need to be in total control.
The only thing they understand
all they have to do is to survive. For them, winning is survival. That's all.
So therefore, America does nothing.
The Ayatollah is dead. The Ayatollah's son probably is dead. So now we have the Revolutionary Guard.
Do you understand how voids work? You understand how power voids work? You kill someone, a worse person very likely goes into the void.
You're making a good case for regime change. That's what you're doing right now.
Making a better one than
You're making a good case for it. No, he's telling you right to your face, lady, that, yo, you're bragging about taking out this radical regime leader. And now we got even a more radical one who don't want to get play nice to the United States, who actually might want to go towards nukes. So the guy that we had before didn't want to go towards nukes. He thought it was a sin against God. You blew that guy up. And now they replaced him with a guy who has a complete, like, I'm gonna be real with you, probably hates America the most right now. Because we killed his father, his mother, and his daughter all in one strike. And you think that we got regime change? Like, lady, do you hear yourself?
I'm making a case because Donald Trump made no case. Still hasn't made a case.
However,
for anything.
it still is true that the regime is very neutered in its current form, and that Israel is breathing a sigh of relief.
How do you know that it's neutered? I'm very
curious. That's what I'm saying. Like, you just sound crazy. The regime is neutered, but let's be real though. They got like. They're in the strongest position they've been in years, and that's because we popped off this war with them. So this war with the regime has put them in honestly a higher standing in the global community and in the eyes of the Iranian people. Because of our attacks, people have rallied around the flag, aka they're joining in with the IRGC.
That's how you know that the Navy has been
bro, it's just like how we got Christians in, bro. We got Christians running to Hezbollah, bro. Christians running to Hezbollah for help because of the constant bombing of Israel on the Lebanese people. Like, this is what happened. People rally around the flag and they rally around those who are against the so-called oppressors. That's literally what we've done in Iran.
The Air Force is zero.
This is the regime. I'm not talking about the military.
Well, the military apparatus, I mean, it's minimal now. Most of the leadership is gone.
You said the regime is new. I'm very curious as to how you can verify that the regime,
because they keep killing its leaders.
They keep killing the first, second, third, and fourth ones in charge.
So that's the only.
I would have to ask them that. I'm like, all right, explain the first, second, third, and fourth leader, because you killed one. You killed one, and we got his son now, and that's it. So we only killed one of the supreme leaders, and we got his son. I'm gonna be real with you. If we want to cause a regime change, then I think the Ayatollah, the religious leader, would be the main one we have to take out, and we've only got that guy once. He's only been succeeded once, and that's by his son. So what are we bragging about here?
Of the regime.
So
the regime has multiple tentacles.
So how are they still in control of the Strait of Hormuz?
We got to call it.
That's the only piece of leverage they have. Yeah.
Well, so who is it then? You said they killed everybody. So who's
not everybody, but they certainly are. They're going after one by one. The Revolutionary Guard is
exactly. Thank you. All right, who they killed then? Or yeah, because you just been listening to Fox News tell you they killed 3 lines of succession without giving you no damn names. And I mean, bro, they've only killed about like what 1 line of succession, to be quite honest with you. And all those guys been replaced by harder liners than the guys that they were replaced with. So I'm sorry, but you guys sound ridiculous on the right now. And it lets us know that you guys don't know anything that's really going on. You're literally taking Fox News at their word. And I get it. That's what some of you are used to doing, but you understand how what Fox News is saying, what's happening out there in the Strait of Hormuz or on the battlefield is just not reality, right? Like, you understand that. Like, what's happening out there in the real world, Fox News is not reporting that. But it is what it is. And here's the thing, what kills me is that CNN has been doing way better reporting on the Iran war than Fox News. All right, guys, let's get right back into it. Let's get into John Bolton. Let's see what he got to say.
Well, the Chinese obviously.
First of all, what's your view of this new reporting on the Chinese?